Every time Alex and I get together, it's always a good time. We learn a ton from each other and just talk forever. So we're going to try and behave. And
No
and
guarantees.
yeah, and hopefully show you some things that make teaching Intro to CS with Arcade just a little bit easier for you. If you normally teach Intro to CS with Microbit, this is not what this workshop is about. Although, if you've been interested in Arcade, you will learn some very interesting things as part of this workshop. And we're not going to go into a ton of depth about the curriculum and how you use it and everything in this workshop. So it should stay pretty light and you're welcome to hang around. If you have even been teaching this for years, I think this is going to be a great workshop for you because we made some updates this year and we're looking to make some updates again next year. And so we definitely want your feedback on what kind of updates you want to see.
Sounds good to me.
All right. Well, I'm going to let Alex start because his intro slide is first. So.
Oh, I am first. I forgot. I was like, is there something before it gets to me? Hi, everybody. My name is Alex Coolchar, and I am many things. I wear many hats, but I am a Wolverine and a Sentinel. I went to the University of Michigan, and I went to American Sentinel University to learn about teaching computer science because I have an ed degree, an ed certificate, and I have computer science degrees. My current educational role is probably my favorite so far, which is through the Microsoft Teals program. I am volunteering at a local high school, Ypsilanti Community Schools and Ypsilanti Community High School here in southeastern Michigan. And so I am teaching with the curriculum that we're talking about today. I also wrote half of it. So I do know the curriculum, but I'm also able to live with it day to day, on a day-to-day basis, and to see how it works with kids. Spoiler alert, it works, and it does. I'm really happy with how well it works. And then for us and for this meeting, along with working really closely with this curriculum, I'm also a really big advocate for the MakeCode platform in general. The wonderful folks at Microsoft invite me to do things with them from time to time, and it's always super fun. So I get to work on different projects with the MakeCode team, and we just have a lot of fun. And so I'm a big fan, and that's always my role with MakeCode is I'm here as a fan because I am. And yes, feel free to post any questions that you have in the Q&A tab in Teams. There should be a button at the top of your screen. Feel free to ask questions, and between Kiki and me, whichever one of us is not talking, we'll be happy to answer your questions, or we might just interrupt with a question. But that's a little bit about me.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Kiki. If I look familiar to you, that could either be from the now 4 years that I've been here at MakeCode. Wow, actually on Saturday, I will have been here for 4 years. And before that, I was at code.org and I wrote their CS fundamentals curriculum. I also ran their hour of code from basically the year after it started all the way up until I left in 2018. So maybe one of those things. I have written a couple of books. You can find them on Amazon, but I won't really talk about them. For MakeCode, I am a PM on the MakeCode team. And my, I want to say bread and butter, but I'm going to say my favorite child of the MakeCode products is Arcade. So I do a lot of the Arcade product management, and I work with partners around Arcade. I put out basically all of the new activities until Alex started doing tutorials, and now Alex is doing stuff there too. And then I kind of manage the juggling of the curriculum, trying to figure out what we want done and when, and working with educators to find out what needs to be done and how. All right, so you heard me talk about MakeCode. If you're here, if you teach Intro to CS with Arcade, you probably already know who we are. Although it's stunning how many people use MakeCode and think that they're using Scratch, but it is MakeCode. And you are probably most familiar with the arcade curriculum, and that's the first one there. It's kind of the pixelated style. It's absolutely free, and it is hopefully constantly improving to allow it to be easy to use in the classroom as a tool or as a series for games and a way for kids to have fun. One of our other very popular tools is called Microbit. It's most popular in the UK, where they give microbits to basically every child, I think once they hit grade 7. And we do the most popular platform for that because we have the simulator right there. And so students can see what's going to happen roughly on their microbit before they even download it. And then we also do the coding for this little thing called Minecraft. So if you use Minecraft education in your classroom and you use the block-based coding, that is MakeCode. Or we have now taken over, it used to be workbooks if you were doing Python, but that is now also MakeCode. So if you have any complaints, you are more than welcome to talk to me about that. All right, I'm going to pass this over to Alex. And you know what? I'm thinking we probably should have actually labeled our tips here, but I'm going to pass this over to Alex for tip number 1.
Welcome. So the first tip, and it's just a screen, a slide on your screen. We'll show you some other stuff here in just a little bit. But if you are pulling annually our curriculum, like once a year, that's great because it keeps the curriculum that you're teaching stable and you won't get any surprises. But if you want the latest and greatest, we do updates throughout the year. Usually it's little things like typos or changing a link and stuff like that. So so they're really small changes throughout the year intentionally because we don't want to throw a monkey wrench into your curriculum and all of a sudden unit 2 is 8 lessons instead of 6. We're not going to do that to you during the year. We do all of that fun stuff over the summer. But if you want to stay up with the latest and greatest, do make sure that you're pulling from time to time from the GitHub repository so that you can see what changes are available. I do also package them up into zip files so you can pull the whole thing at once if you really want to every time we do an update. But the easiest way is to use the Git tools. If you're not familiar with Git or with GitHub, Kiki has a wonderful video out on YouTube for accessing the repo with some Git tools so that you don't have to worry about pulling very large zip files every single time you want an update to the curriculum. So be sure to check out Kiki's tutorial on YouTube for accessing the Git the materials through Git. That's the easiest way to keep current. Kiki's first question to all of you in the chat is whether everyone here in the live session is a GitHub verified educator. Because in order to access the GitHub repository, you have to be verified as an educator through GitHub. Now, if you can't go through that process for a variety of reasons, or you get denied for, again, a variety of reasons, we have other ways for you to access the curriculum. But there's a form that you can fill out to let us know the steps that you went through in order to try to get verified as an educator. But the easiest way to get access to our curriculum is to go through the process of being verified as an educator. In order to access our curriculum, there is a landing page. It's aka.ms/TealsIntroCS. So that link is listed there at the top of your screen. That actually takes you to a landing page in the MakeCode documentation that goes through the information about getting a GitHub account. For those of you who are using this curriculum, we sent out a little bit of a preview of things yet to come. They already have been started. We just haven't finished them. In other words, we don't have the entire curriculum ready for you, but we will soon. One of the things that I worked on over the summer is to take this high school-based curriculum Intro to Computer Science with Microsoft MakeCode Arcade, and build many of the activities as tutorials and then skill maps so that while it's the same content, it's targeted for middle schoolers and for people who don't quite have the language literacy that we expect for the standard course, which is we wrote it targeting, I'd say ninth grade, maybe a little higher reading level. But if you have, say, ESL students in your course, or if you're a middle school teacher, you may instead want to use the skill map version of the curriculum. It doesn't have all of the activities. Or, sorry, we don't have all of the activities as skill maps just because some of the activities don't lend themselves to skill maps for a variety of reasons. But many of them are in here. And I'll use this as a way both to show you what the skill maps, and then also, for those of you who aren't familiar, show you some of the activities that are included in this curriculum, whether you use the skill maps or not. We do have as your first stop here the beginner Introduction to MakeCode Arcade beginner's tutorial to give your students a starting point if they've never even worked in MakeCode at all and have never gone through a tutorial. So this is a great place to start with your kiddos, just to get them up to speed so that they can at least navigate through a tutorial on their own. And then there are skill maps for each of the first, depending on how you count, 4 units. So through unit 3, computers start counting with the number 0. So we number things starting at 0. We have skill maps for the first 4 units. Unit 0 is a really simple one because there's really only one activity that makes sense to build as a tutorial. But then units 1, 2, and 3 have the majority of the activities, the majority of the labs built as tutorials and bundled together as skill maps. So you can use the skill maps, the tutorials, some of the tutorials and some of the lessons build on each other. So the skill map kind of keeps all of that together. Or if you scroll down a little bit further, we have each of the individual tutorials available as a separate activity and a separate link. So you could use these as well. Some of these don't really make sense to use individually. So for example, Lab 1.1 Part 1 is separate from Lab 1.1 Part 2. It doesn't really make sense to use them independently as tutorials, but if you wanted to, for some reason, you could. But again, the skill map kind of walks the students through and keeps all of their work together so that the lessons do build on each other and builds on the code that they already have created. So again, Unit 0 really only has one activity that makes sense as a tutorial, and it's the capstone activity. Unit 1 goes through things like a scavenger hunt in blocks, and then again, these are literally the lessons that are in the main curriculum. So renaming variables, sprites in the corner is an activity that they do. Moving sprites, as in working with velocity. And then the 2 short games, abbreviated games that they build are called Eat It All, which is a chase and collect game, and then an extension called Eat Some More. In the next unit, in Unit 2, we work with sprites and collisions more so. And so they learn about I always love this one. Bonus, pew pew. So they launch projectiles and also have sounds associated with them. They learn about variables and they work with variable arithmetic. They build a silly story in the United States. You may know them as the brand name Mad Libs. They create a Mad Lib. And then pick a number. A magic 8 ball, except we simplify that to a magic 4 ball. And then this last one, Unit 2, our lesson 2.6, walks them through a rather complex game with a bunch of different stages, ending with the ability to set the difficulty in their activity. And then Unit 3 is where we work with iteration structures or loops. So they learn about the repeat loop and the for loop. They build a high scores table where they learn about arrays, and then they learn about animated sprites at the end of Unit 3. Unit 4 works with functions. We don't have that skill map developed yet, but I will have that written in time for next year. Unit 5 is animations and platform games and tile maps. And again, I don't have a skill map or tutorials written for that unit yet either, but those will be coming for next school year. So by the time next school year rolls around, if you're a middle school teacher, we'll have a full set of curriculum for you to use as skill maps. For middle schoolers, you may already have a full curriculum here, depending on the speed that you want to go, because you might want to change the pacing a bit from how we pace it out for high schoolers. Totally up to you. But this is the set of skill maps that we have available for the curriculum, and that was a quick walkthrough also of the seven. Technically, we start counting at zero, don't we? The 7 units in the first semester.
We're now at tip number 3, which is try AI. But we did have a really interesting question in the chat that I want to share with you.
Go for it.
And this question is, can anyone contribute to tutorials to fill in some of the gaps? And
of course.
Yes, the answer is yes. And the way we usually kind of communicate about that is in the forum. And that's something you'll hear us talk about a couple of times during this. Go to forum.makecode.com. And there's an educator lounge. If you're just creating tutorials and skill maps for just general MakeCode Arcade, we can communicate about those. You can show us what you're doing. You can say, oh, how do I do this?
The tutorial isn't done yet, but you saw that I had a couple of the pieces finished. It's Kiki's working on a tutorial of tutorial. I'm working on that too. And between the two of us, we'll get it done. Eventually. I just neither one of us have had the time to go back to actually finish the outlines that we have in our heads in order to flesh it out.
Okay, so AI can be a little controversial, but being here at Microsoft, we love AI, and specifically Copilot. Copilot has helped make my job a lot easier. And it can also help make your job easier, particularly when you have those programs where there's just some bug that's hiding. Whether you're an advanced teacher and teaching students who have been doing this for a little while, or whether you're new to teaching computer science, it really can help make your job easier. And I've seen educators, in fact, I preach to educators that if you have these projects where you're saying, all right, it's time to come up with your own project. It needs to be able to do this, 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 and this. What are your ideas? And students just look like deer in the headlights. Encourage them to use Copilot or Bing or ChatGPT and say, hey, I need to create a coding project that does this, this, that, and this. Can you come up with some ideas for me? And it will help just kind of weed out some of the possibilities and get them to a list where they can choose. It really does kind of take away that blank page fear and just helps move things along. Also, you can have it help you create characters. And granted, you'll still have to go in there and do the pixel art for them, but it will help you figure out what kind of sprites you want in your game. Or we have that music generator now. You can actually, well, not generator, it's just the music creator, where you can go in and put notes on a staff. And you might not know this, but ChatGPT is really good at composing music. And you just have it compose it in ABC notation. And then there's a ABC to notes converter. And you just take that and then you can plug in to MakeCode all of the little notes that it gave you on your conversion. So it helps kind of get unstuck sometimes. Now, one of the biggest things I like using it for is helping me get unstuck when I have a problem. So say I'm a new coder and I don't understand why every time I grab the pizza, the timer adjusts. I want it to be one game and I want to see how many pieces of pizza I can grab during my game. But every time I grab the piece of pizza, the timer adjusts. I'm guessing there's at least 3 of you out there right now going, I know what's going on. But, sometimes when you're in the heat of things, there's only 5 minutes of class left and you're trying to figure it out for the student. It sometimes just isn't very clear. So you can switch over to the JavaScript tab, or if you're already working in JavaScript or already working in Python, then you can grab that text and you can come into Copilot and you can say, why does this, and see, I even had an extra capital and I'm not going to go back and change it because I'm just going to be okay with the mistake and move forward. Why does this code reset my timer every time I grab a piece of pizza. And I'm going to hope it doesn't make me like stop and sign in before it tells me the answer because I'm not signed in here. And it says, hey, the issue lies within the info start countdown line of your sprite's overlap function. Every time your player sprite overlaps with the pizza sprite, it triggers this function and the countdown timer resets. If you want to avoid resetting the time every time the player grabs a pizza, you should only start the timer once. Here's a way to adjust your code. Yeah, so I've found that it is pretty accurate actually. If you just have this chunk of code and you can't find it, even though you've been looking and you can figure out how to put your question into words. And has anyone out there heard of rubber duck coding? I'm sure some people have. If you haven't, I'm going to do you a favor. This is such a big deal that I know teachers who actually buy a crate of rubber ducks every year and give their students each a rubber duck. Every single class, they get one because sometimes you solve your issue. You figure it out just figuring out how to put into words your issue. And you don't want to be there, have everybody flagging you down every time they have a question. So you give them a rubber duck and you say, before you talk to me, I want you to tell your problem to the rubber duck. And these rubber ducks, they're pretty cool. Sometimes they just give you the answer. And you just say, you figure out how to put it in words. And just the fact that I said, why does this happen every time I get a piece of pizza? That can trigger, oh, there is code that happens every time I get a piece of pizza. I'm gonna look there. So just another little tip for you. All right, let's check out tip number 4. Oh, kiosk. I love this one. Oh, good. Okay. So just a quick poll. How many people in the chat have used kiosk before? Okay. Oh, do a reaction. Okay. Oh, we have multiple people that haven't heard of kiosks. Alex, I'm so happy because this is my day to make your day, and I'm thrilled about this. It is also one
What?
of the features that we're about to start working on Arcade again this year, and this is one of the features that I'm promoting. In the slide deck, there is a video about kiosk. I'm not going to play that video right now. I'm just going to let you know it is in the slide deck and you can watch it. I'm going to go ahead and close this and I'm going to hop over here. All right, so this is kiosk. It's you when you're entering it, you don't have to enter those dashes. It's arcade.makecode.com/kiosk. And then you click enter and you're brought into this kiosk. Why is this amazing? Well, one, if you decide that in your wood shop you want to make a kiosk out of wood and you want to actually have a full-size kiosk that is being powered by a laptop, you can have your games ready to go and people can play these games. Every one of these games was created by one of our engineers using blocks. They didn't do JavaScript, they didn't do Python. These were all made with blocks, and most of them are pretty cool, pretty fascinating. But you can also add games to this. Now to do this, I'm going to add my clear tag and I'm going to say clear equals 1. I think this is how this works. That didn't do it. Okay, what? Oh, is it and clear equals 1? No, clean. It's clean. And clean equals 1. This is all in the documentation, so you don't have to memorize it. There we go. Okay, clean equals 1. Now I have a kiosk that is empty. It has nothing on it. So my students can fill it up. And that's what makes me really excited. So I'm going to pop this in here. Now I'm going to go back over to my kiosk and I want to add my game. So it's the end of class. You're in the last 15 minutes. You're about to let everybody share their project. And you say, all right, everybody, add your game to my kiosk. And now it's given a kiosk ID. By default, it's good for 30 minutes, but we do also have tags that let you add however many hours. So if you want to keep it open for 2 hours, for 24 hours, for a week, as long as you can do the math, you can keep it open that many hours. So I'm going to say, okay, this is the kiosk ID for our kiosk. I'm going to go back into my game and I'm going to, let's call this Kiki's game so that you know when it's arrived, and I'm going to share. And then when I share my game, I get this option here to share to kiosk, and I'll click that. And I'll put my 6-digit code right here and click submit. You'll see that it told me it was shared successfully. And then over here, it's going to tell me that a game was added. And then when I go back to my menu, you'll see my game. And right now mine is the only one there because mine is the only one there. So it's just going to go through all of these. But other people, if they want, they can add their games. You can add it from where you are right now. You can add these games as long as you have that code and the time hasn't expired. Then you can add your game and then it will show up here. Once you actually have it on a kiosk or on your computer at school or something, and you don't want people um, to be able to mess with it anymore, there's also a tag up here in order to lock it so that you can lock it and people can't delete and add games anymore to this. So I'm going to pause for just a second and check to see if we have any questions. Looking good. So the way I like to use this is when we're doing trainings or at the end of class, or if we just did a little activity. We've even used it as a team when we want to just do some things real quick and we put them all in the kiosk, and then you can just scroll through on your kiosk, scroll through each of the games and go, okay, this one is Jen's game. And oh, look at the anti-GIF Jen has here. It looks like it's going to do this, this. So that's fun. But now I'm going to tell you the downside of kiosk, because once you have kiosk and oh, look at that, we have another game. Thank you. 5.5 Defender. Uh, yeah, so once you have kiosk and you really want to be able to use it for things, the issue is whatever computer it's loaded on, it is right now, it's client side. So as soon as that tab gets wiped, like right now, this is in a private tab. So if I close this tab, my kiosk is gone. If somebody, like if your laptops clean their cache every day when you log out, that kiosk will be gone. And that's super unfortunate. So in order to make this a truly useful tool for teachers, my belief is, and you can all correct me if I'm wrong, but my belief is we need to make this persistent in the back end, give it a little URL that's associated with that kiosk so you can bring that kiosk up again over and over again. You can make a kiosk of all the class projects and share that with everybody in the class so they have access to all the games, share it with parents. Do fundraisers where you're making kiosks for people. I mean, whatever. It seems like if we can get that feature in, it will be way more helpful. But as far as having everybody share things at the end of class and being able to go through them, it's still a very, very powerful tool. So I wanted to make sure to share that with everybody. We also have some instructions on our website for how to, let me see if I can get to that easily here. Probably the easiest way is for me to go to hardware. And then you'll be able to see that we have instructions for how to make your own arcade cabinets. So we have 3 different kinds. We have this wood and laptop one. So this is a wood casing. All of the CNC files are there in the format that you need to import them into your CNC. So yeah, it will cut everything out to give you nice clean fits, and it tells you what buttons they use, what speakers they use, the monitor that they use, and then it's just a laptop back there powering it. And then we have the cardboard kiosk. And in this, people use their tablets or Chromebooks or Surface tablets, and they just design cardboard kiosks that the tablet can slip into, and the buttons connect via USB, and everybody can make their own cardboard cabinet for their games. And then this last one is wood and Raspberry Pi. So people can create this much beefier cabinet, no laptop necessary. The Raspberry Pi does all the thinking. But at this point, this one is actually much older and a little far behind the other two. So that is that one. Do we have any questions?
We had a few comments. One comment is that I recommend my teachers to create one, as in create a kiosk, for school night to show parents what their kiddos have done. I thought that was a great idea.
I love
And
that
then
idea.
um, another suggestion, you and I have talked about this previously, but I would love to use kiosks for students to have a digital portfolio of their work for the entire school year, which is related
Yes.
to having a URL available for teachers. It would work the same way for students too.
Yeah, exactly. And then the students can share that with friends and family and be able to play games multiplayer online. It's almost like we set that up intentionally. Uh, yeah, so the next tip is multiplayer online. If you go to, I'm just going to come over here and I'm going to go to our homepage. I'm going to scroll down. You might have seen these multiplayer tutorials. They also have multiplayer games that are ready to go, and you can click any of them. My favorite is Arrow Battle because I made it. And you go into it, and then based on how many people, well, if you're logged in, you can click Host Game. And then when you host the game, it gives you a URL that you can share with friends, and you can all play that game online simultaneously from wherever you are. The really cool thing about this, and I'm not going to show it right now because I'm doing all of this on an incognito window and I am not going to be able to log in. But the really neat thing about our multiplayer, here's where it gives you the link, is that it is all anonymous. So it is perfectly safe even for kids under the age of 13 because there's no way to text people within the game. Your icon is just this little kind of meeple, and it shows the color that you are by looking at your console here. So then you would be player one. Sometimes, if you assigned the player's sprites within your game, then instead of showing this as a meeple, it will show it as whichever sprite you're playing in the game. And that's cool. And literally, the only way you can communicate is if you press buttons 1 through 5 on your keyboard, it spams emoji. So you can do a smiley face or a laughing face or crying tears or whatever. You can do those. But that's it. So even if somehow magically some creeper somewhere just comes up with the 6-digit code that's yours and decides to play at the same time other people are playing, they won't be able to talk to you. They won't be able to figure out who you are, where you're from, nothing. So it's all perfectly safe and it's a ton of fun. If you don't have um, like little consoles to put your games on, or if you don't have um, kiosks built, then multiplayer online is one of the ways that you can really bring all of this home and just say, wow, this really became real when I was able to have somebody from another state play my game at the same time as me. It's crazy. The only thing that I think is cooler than that is the fact that we can now do Xbox. You can now play your arcade games on Xbox. So if you did not know that, now you do. I will link my article on it from Kiki's Corner in the chat so that you can find out more about that. Not that you need to really promote that in class. Lots of people don't have Xboxes at home. That's totally fine. We understand. Um, but for those who do, it's the absolute quickest way to get your video game on a video game console. So, speaking of Kiki's Corner, I do have a blog. It is called Kiki's Corner. And in it, I write about everything I can think about. So, whatever teachers ask me, whatever students ask me, questions that we have constantly in the forum, I'll go back and I'll write a whole piece on what's the importance of sprites, like why should I debug? How do I share? How do I make an extension? Everything from really super easy things that I've spelled out all the way up to more advanced things. I have articles on this blog, so I'll be able to put that in the chat for you as well.
There were some fantastic things that came up while you were demoing Kiosk. STL files. Thank you to the chat.
Thank you.
STL files
Yes,
are
thank
are
you.
are what you load into a CNC machine. Um, I have two of those handheld game consoles from MakeCode, similar to the Kitten Bot, I assume, that you were showing earlier, Kiki.
Oh, yeah.
They're very underpowered, 22 sprites max. Is there a good one? So very briefly, most of the hardware, not all, most of the hardware that is specifically designed for MakeCode Arcade, like the Kitten Bot, use the same processor, or at least the same family of processor. So they're all roughly the same power. The exception being, as somebody mentioned, the Pi Gamer from Adafruit uses a slightly beefier processor, but not by much, but it is a little beefier. But they are fairly low powered devices by intention, really. So if you're looking for something a little bit more capable and a little bit more expensive, you can use, ooh, yeah, well, you can. You can create a handheld console based on a Raspberry Pi Zero. That would be kind of the next step up from the other handheld devices that are available. Um, I've had students make multiplayer clicker games and they loved it, which is fantastic. I would love to see how you taught that because Kiki and I had a conversation earlier this week, and I'm struggling to figure out because I haven't thought about it hard enough, but I was in the minute I was struggling to figure out what skills does a student need in order to create a multiplayer game, and where would we put it in the curriculum? And I kept putting it at the end, and I'm like, I don't want to. It's too far away. Well, I want to do something early as a quick win to be like, look, you can do multiplayer too. So I would love to see how you're teaching that with your kiddos. That would be great.
We want to hear your tips and tricks.
Oh
So if
yes, for
you
sure.
have found anything that you like to do in your classroom, then please feel free to put that in the chat. If you think of anything that you would like to be able to do but can't based on the way Arcade works right now, you can save that for the survey, which we're going to introduce here in just a little bit.
Or maybe there is a way to do whatever it is that you're thinking, and
Yeah,
you just haven't thought of it yet, and we'll be
yeah,
happy to help you with those.
we'll be happy to
And
help you with that.
you've already been sending us some wonderful ideas and how you're already using the environment or the curriculum already in your classroom. So for those of you who have already participated in that, thank you so much.
And I hope so far, even if you don't use the intro curriculum in your class yet, you've found things here that you can take back and make your arcade experience more exciting. Oh, balloon popping and horse racing. Yeah, those are both good clicker games. MakeCode has microbit version. I have 6 robots in the classroom. Oh, very nice. Have you seen our new robot simulator extension? Those are really helpful. We've connected to extensions that allow multiple kinds of robots to all work on the same platform, and then you can actually have the simulator in the side and see what your robots are going to do with your code. We just worked on that this summer, so it's
Oh, I
it's
haven't seen that yet. I gotta
it's
go check
out, but
that
it's in
out.
beta. So if you follow
That's
the
okay.
the MakeCode blog, not the arcade blog, but if you follow the MakeCode blog, then you will have seen some information about that. Customize existing games for celebrating festivities from other cultures. I love that. I absolutely love that because then it's coding and it's the creativity of customizing, modifying the game. This probably includes art, I'm guessing, maybe sometimes even music or sound effects. And then also having to research and learn about the holiday so that you can accurately depict it. I love that. That's a great idea. Um, I'll go ahead and put this here while we kind of wrap up. All right. Now, this is the moment we have all been waiting for. I'm going to say waiting for. I want to reiterate, please keep in touch on the forum. We hardly have anyone using the Intro to CS forum channel, and it's a pity because we have so much knowledge to share. And like Alex said, he helped write that thing. So, he knows what he's talking about. He can help you. And then don't forget that blog. There is so much information to help not only you, but students in that blog, especially as they proceed past Unit 6 and they're trying to do those big, complicated projects kind of on their own. So, did I miss anything? I'm putting the YouTube channel link in here and the link to our normal YouTube channel, which has our streams. So if you don't have the time to watch the streams on Twitch, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 1 p.m. Pacific, but you want to be able to see what's happening on those live streams, our engineers do them every week. The streams do go over to our YouTube channel afterwards. And so the first one at MS MakeCode is the educator channel. The Microsoft MakeCode is the normal channel. So I'm going to put that in there real quick. I'm going to start putting more information in that channel about updates to the curriculum, about updates and blog posts, about games and things, so that you have a way to stay updated throughout the year instead of, I don't really know how people even get information right now about the curriculum. They just have to look for webinars, I guess. But my back and forth with you now, my way of sending you information about this curriculum is going to be through that Intro to CS channel on the forum. And if it's not about Intro to CS, if it's just about teaching arcade or teaching computer science in general, then it will be in the Educator Lounge. Anything else, Alex?
Not that I can think of, other than saying thank you all so very much for joining us, wherever it is that you are in the world and however it is that you got to us. Thank you so much for
Yes.
being here.
Goodbye, and thank you.